This is ITV, certainly the best. Okay, thanks again for staying with me on the program TMI Monday. Of course, our next port of call on our discussion segment is on the fight against corruption. What with the fact that two institutions that are the arrowheads of the fight against corruption at loggerheads. There is a war of words going on between them. There is a gulf, there is a rift between them. Talking about the office of the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, and of course the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Serious rift between those two offices. What does this portend for the fight against corruption? But first, let's set the tone for this discussion by meeting our panelists. I'd like to welcome very specially our good friend, a brother, always there anytime we need him here, Comrade Roy Orivaboh. Is the Master's Chairman, right? Yeah? The voice of the common man. The voice of the common man. Okay. Thank you, Roy, for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
I also have with us Secgen Emeritus of the Ijaw National Congress. I'd like to welcome to the studio, very especially, Barrister Robinson Esite. Many thanks for joining us, Barrister Robinson.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we also have in the studio, veteran analyst, politician. I'd like to thank Tony Alile for joining this discussion. Tony, many thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, let's look at fundamentally what's our perspectives on the war on corruption. Are we on the right track? Are we on the right track? Are we in the right direction? Are we making any gains in the war against corruption? Let's begin with Barrister Robinson Esite, because you are a lawyer. You are the learned amongst us, so to speak. Can you kickstart it on that plank?
Well, thank you. I think we started right, but we are getting it wrong midway, because there is now a division between the office of the Attorney General of the Federation and the acting chairman of EFCC. Now, the Attorney General of the Federation is the chief law officer of the country. He has the legal authority to start a prosecution or to terminate it. Whereas the EFCC can start a prosecution but cannot terminate it on its own. So it has its own limitation. Whereas from the beginning, before the EFCC, the Office of the Attorney General prosecutes all criminal matters at the federal level, while the Attorney General of the state starts and concludes prosecution. But with the establishment of the EFCC, EFCC now has the legal authority now to start prosecution on its own. It has its own legal department that starts prosecution, but it cannot terminate without the approval of the Attorney General of the Federation. That is where the limitation comes in. Where the Attorney General says terminate, and the EFCC says no, I have good reasons for not terminating, there must be a writ. And I think that is where we have gotten to in the present circumstance. And mind you, the EFCC and the police seem to be on the same footing, in the sense that the police also investigate criminal matters, the EFCC also investigate criminal matters. But the EFCC mainly on financial crimes. And who are those that are involved in these financial crimes? And I beg to submit that the people who are involved in financial crime are the politicians. Are the politicians. And the EFCC cannot, as it is, go after these politicians who are in office. And so the EFCC is now seen as a weapon against the opposition, because the opposition is loose. It has no guard. No person protecting the opposition. So the EFCC can favorably go into the opposition go into investigation and do whatever they want to do. But they cannot go into serving officers because they are protected. And if we go this way, the Nigerian populace will lose confidence in EFCC. But I think we should advise ourselves that the people who are in office will not be in office in perpetuity.
Yeah.
They will also go out. And EFCC is still there.
Yeah.
The lifespan of EFCC does not terminate at the termination of the politician's tenure.
Okay.
So we should also hope that the same thing that is happening to those who are not guided will also happen to those who are serving and guided now. So we should encourage the EFCC to continue to work.
Okay, Tony, let me get your thoughts here. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, whom our learned personality here, described as the Chief Law Officer of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, has alleged breaches in the prosecution process being carried out by the EFCC, and this seems to have been the genesis of the rift between both parties here. You want to build on that?
Yeah, well, first of all, you all should realize that this thing didn't just start today. This situation really is ugly far back 2007 when Michael Andoka was the Attorney General and Nuhu Rubadu was in the helm of affairs at the EFCC. The similar thing occurred, and it would have been expected that it should have been named in the board at that point. But we allow it to continue. You see, the act that set up EFCC, specifically section 10, subsection 1, yes, I'm correct, clearly stated that certain cases that are tagged to be tough cases, which the politicians fell in that category, should be forwarded to the Attorney General of the Federation, for prosecution. But you all know that, Nigeria being what it is, when anyone is appointed through the executive branch of the three arms of government, they seems to have so much power within themselves and seems to undermine every other authority. EFCC is directly under the supervision of the Office of the Attorney General. And the Attorney General wrote a letter, to the chairman of EFCC, Magu, to forward certain cases that, were tend to be tough cases to him, to his office for, prosecution and eventual termination if need be. But he refused, he bluntly refused. And a lot of all these uncoordinated, effort between these two offices is what is leading to, to the acquittal that, we've recorded in recent time of, cases involving politicians and others in these financial crimes that had gone scot-free. So I think there should be a synergy between these two bodies, which are not even ranked in the same category. So what I believe that is actually lacking in all of these things is institution. Our institutions are not firm enough. The man, whoever is in charge of any of the institution, see himself as the Lord of that institution. Whereas the institution ought to have been bigger than whoever is, holding that position. So what is going on right now is not healthy for our political system. It's not healthy for this country. And the sooner they look into it and resolve all of this quagmire, the better for our anti-graft, policy.
Okay. Comrade Roy, is this a gang up against the EFCC chairman, as it were? Because people have said there are some forces who have been against the EFCC chairman, more so that he's been in acting capacity. Nobody knows when that acting capacity will come to an end. Is this more of those forces, or that, like the Attorney General has said, there is a breach on the part of the EFCC in terms of investigating cases of high-profile individuals, especially those who have left offices, making recommendations, and then submitting such recommendations to the Attorney General as required by the Constitution, as required by the law?
You use the word gang up. Who is ganging against anybody? If what the law says, I expect the EFCC to work accordingly. We are a country. Even in animal kingdom, there is a hierarchy in animal kingdom. The presentation and the disposition of EFCC for some time now, some of us, we are very worried. The commoners are worried because without open demonstration of his subordination, one will naturally not be so comfortable about the action. You have an authority that supervises you. Naturally, you are supposed to listen. You understand me? A situation where you are not doing things in your own way, it's not healthy for any nation. And that's the reason why we are also very bothered. The commoners are bothered because whichever way you look at it, the board end at the presidency, the president is there. And he appointed the minister. He said he's enjoying the grace of the minister is enjoying the grace of the president. The president can decide to fire him at any time. But what is going on, I expect the president and the presidency to wait in. Before even snowball to this level, we find ourselves. That you call this man and you call this man to a round table and say, Nigeria is our project, it's our interest. We don't want to see this kind of actions from you. But the presidency have been so weak in this direction. And you recall some of the statements credited to the acting president there, which is not the vice president, in issue to EFCC. And the minister, the Attorney General of the Federation, when he was reacting to it, he says a personal opinion of the acting president there. That was an insubordination of the highest order. But because some persons are too powerful in this country, they are more powerful than the institution, then that is the reason why we keep on condoling. We keep on accommodating all those kind of what I would call nonsense. If we are really people are civilized and we are willing to turn things around, I expect the presidency to be very forward and determined about this issue. The reason why I'm stating this is that there is even already an established case study, and I expect the present system we are operating now to borrow a leaf. The former EFCC chairman and the minister, they had issue. I don't expect under this new regime of change that the same issue will also come on board again. I see no reason why EFCC chairman should not turn himself to a demigod. And I see no reason why the minister will also turn himself to the demigod. They are supposed to be a synergy for them to work perfectly for the benefit of all. But now they are not doing that. Now they are not engaging in war, in physical war, if you allow me to do that, not even a media war. Because records are there that the EFCC office was attacked of recent. And some of us are reasoning otherwise. You understand? We cannot continue to accommodate these sentiments. They must be able to tell us that they are fighting the war against corruption is real. Now they are not doing that. We are not seeing the people on the street, the commoners are not benefiting from whose interests are they not there. The government arrangement of for today, they must take this break. The government must take the break. The APC-led government must be bothered that an institution, two institutions, working together on the appointment of the same government, they are fighting dirty, and this party, the government is not bothered. It comes for a serious concern, and all reasonable Nigerians must stand up to condemn it. We must draw the attention of the government in power to it. Maybe they are not aware, or they are pretending not to be aware. But we are aware. They must look at the issue on how they can formulate a common goal and understand it, so that the war against corruption will be a war that some of us will take serious. For very just now, some of us will not take EFCC serious. We will not even take the war against corruption serious again. Because they have demonstrated character that now you can no longer vouch. A situation when one man is not turning himself to a demigod, you are now so strong to the extent that the institution, you are stronger than the institution. It's not good for this country. It's not healthy for this nation, and we cannot genuinely fight corruption in this direction. Therefore, all the stakeholders must all come together to condemn this and call the president and the presidency to order so that they will know that this country belongs to all of us. We are all major stakeholders in this country. The difference between Magu and Sonny Duke is opportunity. The difference between the president and Rory Babba is opportunity. Therefore, they must know that we have a stake in this country. This country belongs to all of us. One man cannot continually remain as a demigod. It's not done anywhere. It's not done anywhere. And that is my fear in all this direction. They are not doing what they are supposed to do. The war against, you cannot expect a man whose hands on fire to be talking reasonably well. EFCC cannot be working effectively now because the ministry and the minister, the attorney general of the federation, they are not working on the same page. With what have happened before it gets to this level, that the commoners on the street, Roel, you know what is now aware of the information that tell you that they are no longer, they are not working. It's no longer as it used to be. Okay. Therefore, the war against corruption has since been mortgaged. Permit me to use that word. The war against corruption has since been mortgaged.
I won't permit you to use that.
You understand me?
There's entirely no doubt.
No, there's disposition of the project. That's the reason why I said.
I mean, today, there's a case in court concerning 6.7 billion naira alleged to have been in possession of the former Minister of Petroleum Resources. So I'm sure that case will be heard today. But that's just on the side. Now, Barrister Isite, obviously, are we saying that these two institutions, those that are in charge of the affairs at this institution, they are allowing their personal differences to override their responsibilities at these two institutions? Is that what is playing itself out, or somebody somewhere is not allowing the law of the land to take preeminence in dealings? Yeah.
Now, see, let us flash our minds back to what has happened to the acting chairman of EFCC. His confirmation by the Senate. A man that has been recommended by the president for confirmation, twice was rejected. And what were the reasons? Are the reasons acceptable to Nigerians? Is it that the man is not effective in his job? The man goes home with anger that he will do more. If this is the reason why Senate would not confirm him, he will do more. And again, this discrimination, there is a discrimination in the law setting up the EFCC, where certain matters are identified as super matters that must go to the Attorney General of the Federation, while others are less important. So EFCC, you can handle that one. It does mean that the law itself are discriminated against the EFCC, making the Attorney General's office superior to that of the EFCC, that you can handle less important one. And the EFCC would naturally come up which of these matters is less important. It will be subjective. Is it the way we want or the way the AG wants? There is that dichotomy and discrimination.
Okay.
That will play out. Then again, the minister is holding two offices: the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation. And until these two offices are separated, we will continue to experience this type of situation we are seeing now. And then the chairman of EFCC now says, look, I cannot send these matters to you. Ego has come in. Now, to me, my own perception is that this man has gone to the Senate twice, and he has been refused. Now he says, I will do my worst. If I go, I go. If I stay, I stay. So he will want to do his best, according to his own perception.
Not according to the law.
Not according to the law now.
Okay, but it ought to be according to the law.
It ought to be according to the law.
Okay.
It is the way he has been treated that is not making him to act the way he's acting. If Mr. President sees reason in recommending him for confirmation twice, and the Senate refuses, the presidency has not gone back to say, look, you see, there is a problem between the Senate, the presidency, and the EFCC. If the presidency recommends a person to the Senate twice and is refused, then the presidency should call the Senate. So tell me why you cannot confirm this. Are there security information? And if he is convinced that there is abundant evidence against the man, he will ask him to go, appoint another person. But the presidency has not done that. There is a lacuna there. Now, there is a problem between the chairman of EFCC and the Attorney General of the Federation. Before now, the presidency should have known. It has also failed to solve that problem. It has come to the public. Who is being disgraced? It is the presidency. Because two of your appointees are fighting in public. It's like a parent whose two children are fighting in public. Who is being disgraced? Is the parent. So it's the presidency that is affected, whose image is affected.
Okay. Well, one of the critical issues that has been a source of confrontation from information available is the presence of the National Financial Intelligence Unit in the EFCC. According to the law, that unit is supposed to function independently. And from the AGF's perspective, who has made effort to see how that unit is pulled out from the EFCC to stand alone as an organization of its own, that has also resulted to the delisting or suspension of Nigeria in the group of international organizations that are fighting financial crime, money laundering, and stuff like that. But the question is, Tony Alile, because you've been following this closely, the question is, some have said the National Financial Intelligence Unit is the heart of the EFCC.
That's correct.
Taking that unit away from the EFCC, making it stand alone, is like saying no job for Magu, no job for EFCC staff. So what do you make of this as a challenge?
All of these things boil down to what we have been talking about. Once there is a problem, there's confrontation, there's altercations, things that ordinarily were overlooked will now start popping up. This body has been part of EFCC. As a matter of fact, the act that set up EFCC created this body as part of, as some of the different, organs, functionaries in the body. If this problem did not arise, no one would have heard about that internal problem within the EFCC. But permit me to quickly say something here. When the barrister was, making his own analysis, he said the presidency had yet to find out from the National Assembly why, Mr. Magu has been turned down on the two occasions
yeah,
that his name has been submitted for confirmation. Okay, we all recall that the DSS, Department of State Services, came up with a comprehensive report from their investigation of Mr. Magu over time. And that was the basis, that was what formed the basis for the rejection of Mr. Magu by the National Assembly. There is a certain man, I'm not going to mention his name, he's a former governor of Kaduna State, that his files were before the EFCC. And one of the junior aide to Mr. Magu was seen flaunting this file and trying to extort money. This is a fact. You can Google it. The facts are there. The only thing I will not do here is to mention the names of the people involved. But if you find out yourself, that would be, your own record to keep. That some of the aides of Magu were moving files from the office to meet with the people that are being investigated for financial crimes. and extorted them for a huge sum of money. And this file is supposed to be classified information within the EFCC and the Office of the Attorney General. So the question now is, were these people doing this thing independently of, of themselves, or they were being sent by somebody? But however, the buck stops at Magu's desk as the chairman of EFCC. So if anything is happening within the agency that you oversee, you take responsibility for the actions. That is the report that came from the DSS, everybody's watching, that was given to the National Assembly, that formed the basis for the rejection. So the presidency cannot say they are not aware why Magu was rejected twice. But what is the special thing about Magu out of over 150 million citizens of this country that makes the presidency to continue to retain him in defiance of the law? Because anybody that is submitted for confirmation to the National Assembly and they are rejected ought to have been dropped and replaced immediately. So the flagrant of the law started right away from the presidency in the first instance. If we are going to look at this whole thing holistically, we must first of all hold the presidency responsible for their inadequacy, because they have they themselves violated the law, allowing a man to act for a period exceeding the time prescribed by the Constitution for anyone to be in acting capacity. So as far as I'm concerned, all of this power game is geared towards something. You know, as a practicing politician, there are certain things that we can't say.
Okay, I'm glad you know that. I'm glad you know there are certain things that you can say, more with the fact that if you say them, the people are not here immediately to respond. But even at that, NBC is watching. I love my job. You know what I'm talking about. That's on the,
I'm not worried. I can say anything.
That's on the lighter side. That's on the lighter side. But in all of these, Roy, what is the future like for the fight against corruption if this friction is constantly there? But I just want to remind Tony Alile that there's also a school of reasoning that the National Assembly's refusal to clear the EFCC acting chair was also predicated on the fact that so many of them at the National Assembly have high-profile cases which EFCC is handling. And so there is this thinking that the continuous stay of the acting chairman or his tenure being made permanent will also spell doom for them in the National Assembly.
Those are speculations.
Okay, so let's leave it at that.
If Magu leaves tomorrow, yes, someone else comes in, yes, the files are still going to be there.
Okay,
so it is the report that is causing all of this problem.
Okay, Roy.
I think to me,
yes,
the future on this war against corruption, you know, it's already breaking. You know, I pray the government of the day have to take responsibility for this. You know, it's quite very unfortunate that we're at this level. To me, Magu, a man I respect so much from a distance. You know, Magu was not even discovered by this government, if you can recall vividly. Records are there. Therefore, now the government of the day, well, these are some of the personnel that this government inherited, you know, for the previous government. You continue to say this man is a saint, this man is so good, and some persons are saying no. You cannot continue to remain there. Even the DSS, they also report to Mr. President. The Attorney General report to Mr. President, and they are having different opinion, different conclusion about the same man. It comes for a serious concern. You know, whether the reports are total, whether the reports are detailed, whether the reports are microwaved, that is not the issue. The issue is that for the government to continue to allow this issue to degenerate to this level, we are seriously, the commoners are bothered. Because now, the war will continue like this between the Attorney General and the EFCC chairman. Whether if you want to, let us call it spade, definitely will affect the performance of the EFCC chairman. Because now, it's no longer even certain. Even for him to even continue to remain in acting capacity, does not even give him more impetus to even function properly. Because now a man that is not stable, that is scared, cannot perform properly. The man, they cannot be able to put in maximum effort. The effort is putting now, they are just they are minimal effort, and that's the reason why he cannot conveniently come out and tell Nigeria this is one of the cases that they are able to pursue with vigor. It's not there. Therefore, of which reason are we now celebrating the man called Magu? Of which reason the presidency they are insisting that it must be Magu? You know, that further also showed to some of us who have been so sincere and genuine to the commitment to our nation. And you are saying that this man will remain. When we have it on ground that we are more than 180 million, you cannot just look for any other way to say, no, people like Roy can do this job. People like Solid, you can do this job. No, my children at home will not be happy because you are already telling them that this man is indispensable. And we all know that there is nothing you can single-handedly do in a community or in a system like this, because life is all about networking. Magu to continue to remain in that office, no matter, I've shared different opinions about it. I've even shown some sentiment that people, those in the National Assembly, because they are also, the man is being investigated, and that's the reason why it's not coming back. And you also agree with me with the kind of job the EFCC as an organization is doing at the chairman, that is going to also be an issue. Even the man, and if Magu is dropped to the another man will also come on board, is he going to investigate some set of people who will also come for a renewal idea? Therefore, we cannot run away from all those things. But in all, the government in power, they are the one in charge of the National Assembly. The same party is in National Assembly. The same government is in charge of the DSS. The leader of the DSS was appointed by the same government. The minister, the same government. Therefore, how come they cannot find a common goal? You know, for the issue to continue to remain, the war against corruption, as I'm concerned, is just a mere rhetoric now. There is nothing to show that the EFCC they are working. As far as I'm concerned, they are receiving salary. There is nothing to show for it what they are doing. And the commoners, we are not seeing the impact. The Nigeria, even the bourgeois are not also seeing the impact. The government of the day must think ahead. The war against corruption, definitely, this is not corruption that is fighting back. I told them that this is not corruption that is fighting back. This is sentiment and incompetency that is fighting back. Because I see no reason why we should hold one man to be so strong more than an institution. We must do away with people who we know. If people have something against you, look for any other person you know can also do this job diligently, and that will make the government to function well, and that will make the people to be happy. With the way the instruction and it's already done, I want to summarize it by telling Nigerians and those who are watching this program that the war against corruption, as I'm talking now, is not even be fight again. Okay. Because it's not an issue of ego. Right. Magu say you cannot drop me, you cannot tell me to bring a fire. And Attorney General is telling him, go and check what the law says. You know, and in the history of Nigeria, as I will set this institution will be set up to fight corruption. This is the first time in the international community we now say we have no, based on the index report. Now the war against corruption, they are no longer taking us serious. We need to be worried. This is the first time in the history of Nigeria that the international community they are no longer taking us serious. Of which interest are we now fighting the war? Those in Nigeria, they are not taking the EFCC serious. The bourgeois are not happy. The commoners are not happy. We are not seeing any to show for them. Whose interests are they now representing? Okay, I call for a serious concern for me and you. All
right, Barrister Isite, the seeming disposition of EFCC to the office of the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice seems to be based on the fact that if these high-profile cases that have been being investigated, they are submitted to the office of the Minister of Justice, there could be a compromise. Do you think that's something the EFCC should be concerned about in its disposition to the office of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice?
Well, I think the acting chairman of EFCC is a human being. It's a human being. And is most likely to reason like a human being. He has investigated and he has seen prima facie case against somebody, and you are saying transfer it to me
based on what the law says.
Based on what the law says.
Yes, section 10,
yes,
section 1 of the EFCC Act.
Yes, but the thing is this: in compliance with the law has always saved the criminals, strictly so to say. Now let us look at it. By the time EFCC sends these files to Attorney General of the Federation's office, before you know, there is plea bargain. Where do we go from there?
Which is better? Plea bargain, at least we get some money back.
It's better than where we are now.
Runs in court for years and years. People like you would defend such people.
No.
Yes, Barrister City.
No.
Okay.
We are not after that. But the thing is that justice must be seen to be done, not perfected. You see, the bottom line of this thing is that the failure of the presidency to do its work is what is resulting in this. The presidency does not seem to have total control of its appointees. The presidency does not have control over the EFCC. It does not have control over the Attorney General of the Federation. Now, for instance, now look at it. During the appointment of the chairman of the EFCC, now the DSS submitted a comprehensive report. At what point did it come? Was it when the name has been submitted to the Senate, or was it sent to the presidency first, for the presidency to now look at it and see whether there is evidence against this man or not? If it was sent to the presidency first, and in spite of that, the presidency still submits the name to the Senate, then the presidency was absolutely wrong in submitting the name. But if it was sent to the Senate during the time of confirmation, the presidency has reason to suspect foul play. That haven't been done. Now, the EFCC is there. You are saying high-profile cases should be sent to you for vetting. Now, the issue here is that after vetting, would you return it back to EFCC to prosecute?
But does EFCC have the prosecutorial power to prosecute people? The act that set up EFCC mainly gave them the power to investigate high power financial crimes.
Yes.
Why are they taking it upon themselves all of a sudden trying to prosecute these people? Is EFCC prosecutors? That is the point, and that is the question that is begging for us.
Now, the thing is this. When a thing starts, you do not nip it in the bud. It starts all over for a period of time. And Nigerians have taken it as the right thing. You now suddenly want to stop it. There is suspicion. Why this time? By the EFCC.
Yeah.
That is the problem between the EFCC and the Attorney General. When I started this act, you didn't stop me. It has taken me this far. Now you want to stop me. Why this time?
He has gotten used to it.
Yes. Now, that is the problem. Now, if you look at it now, almost all the agencies now have their legal department that prosecutes for themselves. Even at the state level, police now prosecutes. They have their legal department that prosecute matters in court. Instead of sending files, it is only on capital offenses that they send the file to the DPP for legal advice and prosecution. Now, this is where we are getting it wrong.
Okay.
The presidency seems not to have control over its appointees.
Okay, but on a final note, as we conclude now, isn't this seeming rift going to take its toll on the fight against corruption? Can we foresee any possible end to this rift?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
You see, the problem is this. If you look at Nigerian political history carefully, you will see that at every particular time, there must be an issue to divert the minds of Nigerians from the real issue.
So this is diversionary.
This is diversionary.
Okay, let's take a break.
To answer your question,
Tony, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Is this rift any end in sight?
I don't want to give any prediction because, like I said, this whole thing started way back in 2007. In the time of Waziri, Farida, Lamode, and all of them, these problems were there. When it now affects, a prominent person, that becomes a problem. But to answer your last question before we went to break, that is war against corruption succeeding. My question is there really a genuine war against corruption in this country? If you ask me to give you my honest opinion, I will tell you that it's always been selective, investigation and selective prosecution. There are so many high-profile persons in this present government who are under investigation that all of a sudden have become saints because they have found refuge in where they belong today. If you are fighting corruption genuinely, no matter whose odds is God, go after every perceived corrupt public officials and other people. Corruption is not always by public officials, because I don't want to, join those people that believes that, it's always the politicians that are corrupt. Somebody selling fuel at the gas station who waits for you to sell, for him to sell to a motorcycle that bought 200 naira and continue pumping for you to let you short 200 naira is corrupt. A woman selling rice or beans, grain in the market that pop the bottom of the cup to give you half of what you are buying is corrupt. So this corruption cuts across. But if you are genuinely fighting corruption, go after every perceived corrupt official and investigate them, to conclusion. The idea of picking your perceived enemies to go after, as far as I'm concerned, is not fighting corruption, it's being selective, and it is not good for our system.
Okay, Roy. Yeah, this rift, is there any end in sight as far as you're concerned?
The only end is very direct, because with the disposition of the key actors now, the only panel says that the president should be able to take a very definite action. To, as a master of urgency, sack the Attorney General, sack the EFCC chairman. Then that will send a signal.
But there's also a better option to sack in this.
No, when I say sack, we have been calling on the presidency and the Mr. President for some time now, that they should look at the cabinet, because we are not getting the desired what we negotiated and massively voted for. We are not getting it. If these things are not coming on, the only solution is that you pick up the cabinet, Let there be an issue that I have to say, well, these are people, we know that they have been there. Personally, I was ever expecting the PMB to even want to have anything to do with Magu in the first place.
Well, that's the person.
You understand me? You understand me?
Yeah.
The only way forward, is that the government need to come out to say, well, you guys, you have done well for this government. I can no longer work with you.
Well, is it going to Ghana?
No, when it's coming, there will not be.
That's a good question.
No, there will not be another. This assumption that belong to everybody, belong to everybody. That is where we are now. Now, that is where we are now. Because we have not been very proactive. You understand me? What you are supposed to. My father told me that what you are supposed to do in the morning, you do it in the evening. You are going to pay dearly for it. That is where we are now. I am aware that Nigeria now, there is no sector you go to that is not corrupt. Even with the commoners of the street, we are corrupt. We expect the government of the day to come up with a structure to say, well, we cannot continue to believe. And my biggest disappointment, and that's the reason why I don't envy people in position of authority. I pity them when I see them. Because for the society now they are being stereotyped right now. An average man in opposition, you see it as your enemy. You see it as somebody who is snooty. There are some of them who are genuinely serving the country, but you don't take them serious again. And over the years, we are made to believe on this, that once you are in government, you are in position of authority, you are not different from a looter. And that will not take us to anywhere as a country. The government need to bring it down. And so that was what I was looking for this government. You don't need to even be working, starting with the bourgeois. You come to the grassroots. You look at those who are down and say, let us from there, you will get it right. It is the word, the unit that will throw you to presidency. Okay. If you can get it out of the unit and the word, then the presidency, the government will be good. There is no sector you go now where people openly, they celebrate corruption. They celebrate corruption. And now, you are not telling me that you will get it right at the top. It's not done. The government is fighting corruption from the top. And we will never, because you can't start on the top. When you're supposed to lay a foundation, go to the ground. You see, go to the side. This is when Mr. Tony was talking. I was smiling. Okay. Because there's nowhere you go to as a level of lithium and put now. When you say, madam, give me soft pomo, you give you the very strong one. You know, you say, Garina, they miss it. You want to do a good issue, they miss it with something else. You know, you are buying red oil in the market, they are missing it. You know, these are also features of corruption. Government should be bothered. Everything, pineapple, banana, you know, I expect government to come to the grassroots. Okay. If we get it out at that local level, forget that we are not even going to about those in Abuja. Let us get it right. We will all be happy. But now, the corruption at the local level is something that we have to be very bothered.
Mr. Esite,
yes.
Parting words.
The presidency has a vision to wipe out corruption, but it has never sat down to map out how to go about it. Okay. That is why we are at this point we are now. If we say, you must first of all identify where the corruption is coming from. What are the instruments of corruption? What is the magnitude now? Then, what are the instruments I'm going to use to curb this corruption? Then you set out to fight corruption. Then you can fight it head on. But when you have not sat down to plan, to map out this, but you say you want to fight corruption, you go out fighting any perceived enemy. Any person you see driving limousine is a corrupt person. Whereas the most corrupt person is at the grassroots. Corruption does not start overnight. It's a gradual process. Okay. It's a graduation.
Okay. Well, our time is up, gentlemen. First, you appreciate the fact that talking about issues that bother us on corruption will take a lifetime, particularly with a country like Nigeria. But globally speaking, corruption is in every part of the world, even in the most developed nations, most developed countries. You also have corruption, except that the institutions of engaging corruption, they are up to the task, and then of course people are brought to justice. I want to say big thanks to our panelists for coming on the show. Rory, Bobbin, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Many thanks for coming. Tony Alile, thank you so much for coming. That's it on the show today, TMI. We hope you had a great time watching. Be sure to join us in subsequent editions on the program TMI. My name is Sonny Duke Okoso. Thank you for staying with us. Have a blessed day.